Good afternoon, everyone. Communiqué, IIT Kharagpur welcomes you all to the panel discussion 4 of Internship Training Week. I'm Janaj Dalal alongside Dhruv Narvare, and we'll be your host for today's session. Today, we'll gain important insights and tips about one of the most in-demand profiles, software development. We are excited to dive deep into what it takes to secure an internship in this domain and how one can excel during the preparation process. We'll also have a Q&A session towards the end, so please post your queries in the chat box and stay with us.
We are thrilled to be joined by three incredible individuals who have secured software development internships at some of the top companies. We have Vasu Singla, currently interning at Rubrik. Vasu, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay, hello everyone. Myself Vasu Singla. I have just completed my third year. I am from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, and I have just joined Rubrik this summer as a software engineering intern. And I am currently working in the cloud native protection team at Rubrik. So my work involves protecting our customers' databases and ensuring their smooth backup and recovery on Azure. So yeah, that is it.
Thank you, Vasu.
We also have Shantanu Singh with us, who is currently interning at Amazon. Shantanu, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Shantanu. I just crossed my third year at IIT Kharagpur. I'm in the Department of Mining Engineering, and I have joined Amazon as an SD intern in this summer. My team is credit seller lending, so like my work is basically of SMBF, so small and medium business financing through Amazon for its client. And yeah, so I'm delightful to be in this conversation, and let's see what goes ahead.
Thank you,
And
Shantanu.
also, we have Srijan Ranjan, currently interning at Google. Srijan, could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Hello everyone. My name is Srijan Ranjan. I've also completed my third year and I'm from the Department of Mathematics and Computing. I'm from JCB Hall of Residence and I'm currently interning at Google and I'm at the Google Cloud Business Platform. How do I explain it in simple words? So basically, we work with all the contracts that Google Cloud does, of which are over $1 billion, and we automate the accounting processes of that. Yeah.
Thank you, Srijan.
Before we jump into the questions, congratulations once again to all of you for bagging these amazing internships.
Thanks
Now,
a lot.
let's start off with the panel discussion. So, how did you come about deciding SD as your career path? And besides software, did you aim for other profiles as well? Srijan, would you like to begin?
Sure. So software, okay. So firstly, my department was mathematics and computing. So it was more maths and computer, not much computer, but yeah, more maths and stuff, right? So I did not do CP at first. Like during my first year, I was exploring other things. I was into AI and ML. I was in KDAG also. So things were going good, but then I felt that okay, maybe I'm not good for that side. Like I'm not much interested. So I started with AlgoZenith, which is a very popular course in KGP. Like everyone does that. I actually liked it. Then I did a bit CP, which is good. So then I thought that I would go for SD. And I think SD is the most uh, preferable choice for anyone, especially in Circuital. Like you get good opportunities in it. Yeah. I also sat for quant interviews also. I prepared for quant also. So these were the two profiles I prepared for.
Right. Shantanu, would you like to share your experience as well?
Yeah, so I had two profiles. Initially, when I came to college, I was in 180 DC. I was quite more into consulting side. But after the end of 4 sems, I realized my CG was quite not up to the mark for consulting. So I also thought because SD is something that's very reliable. And like if you work hard, you're going to get something over here. And that's the best side of SD, I would say, that your output is directly proportional to your input. And you won't see other fields that are this reliable in college or out of on the off-campus side too. So I had two interviews. I had a interview on day one I had Nomura and Amazon. So I had two profiles, consulting and SD. But SD is something very reliable. So if you want to pinpoint to something and you want to take an opportunity, I would say keep working in this like the for the prerequisites of this field. It will give you a result, like most probably.
Vasu, how did you come about deciding your career path?
Yeah, so for me, since I'm from the department of CSC, I sort of got influenced by seniors. Like mostly in CSC, people go for SD and Quant, and there is a reason for that because the courses in CSC also sort of align with what is the requirement for an SD role. And like I've been interested in problem solving and mathematics from the very start. So I had a very clear aim since the beginning of my second year that I will set for these two profiles, SD and Quant. Although I was more inclined towards Quant initially, but as time progressed and my interest in CP developed, and I started developing more interest in CSC concepts and CSC courses. So then I realized that maybe SD is my thing. So that was it.
That was really insightful. I have another question for you all. What would be your advice for juniors when it comes to deciding a suitable profile for themselves? Shantanu, would you like to take this first?
So I believe the only thing that you should do is just your interest and nothing else. And eventually, if you keep working in any field, you will reach a point where you would be satisfied with yourself, right? Eventually, if you work hard, if you are just into something, but whatever you think you want to become, just pursue something regarding that. Like if your department is linked to tech, like CSC or MNC, I would say like a better option for you would be tech, because it's your courses align with it, and like you are in a full curriculum that you will match the industry guidelines to follow. So you will be in a loop which will be very good for your growth. And but I would say like whatever you like. And for the for 2 years of the college, I think exploring every option is the best career option. So yeah.
Yes. Vasu, would you like to add anything to this?
Okay, so uh, just taking a slight detour from this question, whatever profile you wish to choose, but keep in mind one thing, that coding is something which is very essential. Like no matter which profile you use, coding is something that is very necessary, very essential,
Yeah.
and it asked in every interview question, like every interview and every online assessment. So even if you wish to not pursue SD, I would advise to juniors that have some basic understanding of coding, do some basic CP, do some basic DSA, because that is very essential, both in the selection process as well as after you go into the job. Because most of the work involves some kind of analysis, some kind of program. So that is one thing. And coming to the question, how to choose your profile, I would say, just starting on what Shantanu said, in the initial 2 years of your college, first and second year, just try to identify where your interests lie. So if you're interested in problem solving, you are interested in maths, then maybe you would also like CP, and then maybe you would develop your interest towards SD or Quant. But say you like to participate in case studies, you are already in societies like DC and B Club, and you already have some kind of exposure related to that, then maybe it would be easier for you to get into profiles like consulting or finance. So what you do in the first and second year of your college, in which societies you are, in which departments you are, what your interests are, all these factors together decide, and all these factors together should decide in which profile you go. So that is it. But also I would like to say that it is not that students only sit for one profile. So there are many students who sit for multiple profiles. So say you have done some level of coding, and you are also in societies like DC or B Club, and you have some exposure of case studies and stuff like that. So maybe you can keep your first preference as finance and your second preference as SD. So even that can work. Like all depends on what your comfort level in each profile is, what your preparation level is, and how much comfortable you are in sitting for multiple online assessments or sitting for multiple interviews.
Yeah.
So
That was actually very enlightening. Okay, this is actually a very common doubt. Could you please help us gain an insight in the basic selection process into companies in this role? Please provide us an insider on the rounds conducted and kind of questions asked. Srijan, would you like to take this?
Okay, so if you're asking for software profile, so the selection process is quite simple. Firstly, you submit your CV. There are some companies that actually look into CVs. Like like companies like Uber and DSA, they actually look into your CV. Like if you have something related to software, they actually value it. Like especially the courses of computer science, they actually prefer it. Other than that, after CV selection, then you have your online assessments, which is uh, which is a bit tougher than the interview round, like I would say, because the level of question has actually got really good in the last 1 or 2 years. So you have your online assessment, and honestly, you need to solve almost all the questions to get selected for the interviews, like almost all the questions. Even if you miss a single question, there's a strong possibility that you will not get your shortlist.
Yeah.
Okay. But there are companies that give some weightage to the OA and some weightage to your CG, some weightage to your department. So it's not only about OAs, but yes, OA play a significant role in that. Okay. And then after you get through the OA, then you have your interviews. Most of the companies have 2 or 3 rounds of tech interviews, mostly 2 rounds of tech interviews and 1 round of HR interview, where you get most of the standard questions. But in some companies like Rubrik and Isha, they ask good questions in interviews also. But mostly they are very standard questions. And then if you get through that, you get through the internship. Yes.
Also, you mentioned that like some companies particularly look into your CV, and like what did you mean by that? Could you elaborate on that?
I mean, okay. So if you're not a dual degree guy, I would say in CG, they look into your CGPA is the most important thing, obviously. And then other than that, some companies do look into your coursework. Like if you have done good coursework, if you have done relevant courses, be it of your own department or you have taken electives or anything like that. And projects, I don't, I never felt that projects were given much importance. But yeah, they are definitely a talking point in the interviews. Like you have something to talk about in the interviews where they can ask questions about it and you can answer it just to get along with the interview.
Okay. And also you mentioned that in during the OAs you will need to solve all the questions. So could you elaborate on that specifically on the difficulty of the questions?
Okay, so
Like
in
were they
OAs, yeah, sure.
yeah,
So in
continue.
OAs, typically you have 2 or 3 questions. Like in some companies you had 4 questions, but typically you have 2 or 3 questions. And if there are 2 or 3 questions, I think you needed to solve all. But in I think rubric it was like there were 4 questions and people who solved 2.5 got the shortlist because the level of the questions were really nice. But most of the OAs, even if the level is high, I don't think you get a shortlist if you solve 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 2. It's nearly impossible. And the level of the question is almost 1600, 1700, 1800 type on code process like that. Yeah. Like that.
Okay,
That's
that
the
was
least you will
yeah,
expect.
okay. That was really enlightening. Shantanu, would you like to add anything to this?
I think Srijan has like gone through it all. But if I would like to add few points is like you would see a variety of questions. Like some companies ask very easy questions in a way, and some like are really tough. But yeah. So even according if you are not in a circuital department, I would say the questions that you receive won't be that tough. Like for say GS or Amazon or JP Morgan, all these companies that are open to non-circuital department for SD and quant and all these sort of roles. The questions won't be that tough, but if like also knowing every topic and having a little grasp of every topic is also very important, I would say. So OA questions can range from a very wide perspective. Like it could be very easy, it could be very tough. Interviews generally quite easy in every company. Like if it's Rubrik or Optiver or Alpha Grip, it's gonna be tough. But yeah, generally interviews easy. But I would say keep practicing like the medium hard questions of lead code again and again, again and again, and follow few sheets that are there. So the Striver sheet is really good. Like in general, if you don't want to spend any money on any course or some. But yeah, I would say this process, like initially for our college, and yeah, as Sridhan said, I also think that projects and all this won't make really lot of sense, because the interview process from the start of taking shortlist and going through 2000 CVs or 1800 people sit at a time, as far as I know. So all this is just for the day one, it's just 7 to 10 days, right? So the time period is very short. So in this short time of period, there are so many companies, so it won't be easy for any company to go through every CV and see everything. So your CGPA and your problem solving ability is something that will take you far. So focus on these two things, and yeah, that's it. That's it.
Thank you for your valuable inputs. Now, a lot of students struggle during the interview process. How, like, they struggle conveying the technical expertise to their interviewer. So, could you give us some tips on acing the interview? Vasu, would you like to take this?
Sure. So as far as interviews go, I believe that there is not much technical expertise for a second year or a third year guy to show. It's just that interviewer asks a CP or a DSA question, and you just have to convey your thought process. So there is this funda called thinking out loud, which I guess every student knows, that start thinking about a question systematically, start making some basic observations, and then list down those observations, and then tell the interviewer those observations, and then start building your solution on that. So thinking out loud is something which is very important. And yeah, this is one thing. And secondly, I would like to say that don't jump to the solution immediately. So when the question is read out to you by the interviewer, takes your time, take 3 to 4 minutes in gathering your thoughts, and then start interacting with the interviewer. And yeah, initially tell the interviewer your basic thoughts, what you think about it. Then it might be the case that interviewer gives you some hints, and then try to think along those lines. This is one thing. And secondly, a mistake that a lot of students make is they are not natural in their thought process, which is to say that they, in an effort to show their knowledge, unnecessarily involve some complex algorithms in the solution to the problem, which the interviewer doesn't want. So what I mean to say is that the solution that you are presenting to the interviewer should seem logical, in the sense that it's not that you directly jump to. So for example, if you are the interviewer, you read out a problem to me, and I directly say that I think it can be solved using DP, I think it can be solved using, I don't know, Ahukarazik something. So maybe that is something that won't make sense to the interviewer then. So whatever you say to the interviewer should logically follow from the previous statement that you have told to the interviewer. And your first statement to the interviewer should be just basic observations about what you have gathered to the problem, what you have gathered from the problem, and maybe some clarification questions. So that is something which is very important. Just communicate well, communicate effectively, think out loud, and try to take hints from the interviewer, try to think along those lines, try to build a solution along those lines. So yeah, that's it.
Right, that was very informative. Srijan, would you like to add something on this?
On gaining technical expertise during the interview?
Yeah, I mean, conveying our technical expertise. In general, acing the interview.
I mean, I think Vasu has covered everything mostly, but okay. So I think interviews are relatively easier to crack. Like if you're asking about software interviews, they're relatively easier to crack. Like if you get a shortlist, there's a really high chance that ultimately you will ace the interview. So I would say don't stress upon it much. Just go and listen to the question. The question would be will most probably one of the questions that you must have solved somewhere. You must have seen it somewhere. Like most probably, like in at least in Google or the the companies that you get in day one, not day zero, but day one. Say in any interview that you go to, most of the questions will be repetitive only. So I think uh, you guys will do good. There's nothing much. Like Vasu has covered everything.
Right.
Can I just say, sorry, I forgot to
Yeah.
mention it before. So there is this one exercise which you can follow. For example, if you have solved a problem today, what you can do is you can audio record your solution and your thoughts. So it's as if you are explaining to yourself. Okay. So suppose you solve 5 problems today. Record your solution as if you would explain to the interviewer, and then listen to that recording later, as in 5 days later or 10 days later or 15 days later, and see that if you are able to understand your own solution. Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
that makes sense.
you solve a problem today, you record your solution today, as how you would explain, and then listen to that recording 5 or 10 days later. So then you would realize if you are able to explain your solution effectively or not, because that's essentially what interviews are about, right? Explaining your solution. So that is one exercise which is very effective that students can follow.
Right. That active learning part was really insightful. Okay, moving on. We have all heard that DSA is a must for SD roles. How did you prepare for DSA specifically? Shantanu, would you like to take this?
Yeah, so initially, like when I came to college, this course was there of programming and data structures. I was quite interested as the data structures component was added in programming. So yeah, my approach wasn't to, since I had my two profiles, so I didn't want it to go deep in one. So I really wanted to solve a lot of questions initially. So I took I served a lot of YouTube, of documentations. So find any roadmap that suits you and that can like you can do it in a specified period of time. Like if I see there's only 1.5 months left for for the starting of the internships, right? Like sitting for the season. So you won't take a roadmap of 1 year or something, or you don't want to be a candidate master till that time. So find a roadmap that suits you and just go through every topic and just solve as many questions as you can. And if you are stuck on a question, see the editorial, see other solutions, but don't have a habit, like struggle on a question for quite of 1 to 2 hours, and then jump to editorials or solutions and just be consistent. Like I think consistency is something that will take you very forward, because if you keep solving 3 to 4 questions daily over a period of time, not like good questions, like not just for the sake of solving that you're solving any sort of questions. You should know, you should struggle at a question, and then you should like use your full potential and then go forward to keep solving new questions. I think Vasu pointed a very good point out here, like be yourself. Don't try to copy anyone else. Everyone has their own process, and everyone has their own learning curve. So yeah, be yourself. That's very important, I would say.
Okay. And also you mentioned, following some roadmaps. So could you list some roadmap that you followed that you felt was beneficial?
Sure. I think Striver has a really good roadmap if you are talking in unpaid courses. And in paid, if you want to, there's nothing even close to AlgoZenith. That's the best course out there. So AlgoZenith, if you are willing to pay money and take a course, like after after I got the internship, I also took AlgoZenith. So it's one of the best course out there. So yeah, I would say if you're willing to pay AlgoZenith, I mean, if not, then Striver is good.
Okay, that was really informative. That was anything.
Am I audible?
You're also,
Yeah. What did you ask? I couldn't listen.
uh, uh, who would like to add anything?
You asked.
I did not get it.
Sorry, did you ask me, Jinaj?
Yeah, he's asking
Yeah,
like,
am I audible
would you
now?
like to?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. What did you ask about again? How to prepare for DSA? Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah.
Cool. So
Yes, yes.
yeah. As far as preparing for DSA is concerned, I think Shantanu has covered the essential resources like Striver and AlgoZenith. These are the most standard resources out there available for preparation of DSA. Apart from that, obviously, like, so when we say DSA, we mean standard topics like DP, graphs, and trees. Uh, and some modifications of these. So to practice for these, I guess lead code and CSCS are the best resources. So I'm confident that in today's date, lead code DP is the best resource for DP out there. Lead code DP problems are the best problems for DP I have ever seen. Apart from that, for DP, at code or at DP, which most of the students would be knowing, is one very good resource. And Striver's videos, which are available on YouTube, are very good videos for DP. And for graphs or trees specifically, again, AlgoZenith is one very good resource. Apart from that, Code Forces blogs are very good. So Code Forces blogs is something that most of the students miss out on, but that is a very good resource. So you take any topic, let's say DSU, and then you just type on Google DSU Code Forces blogs. You will find excellent blogs with amazing techniques on how to solve good problems on DSU. And the thing about these blogs is that they cover topics which are very niche, which don't get asked in most of the ways. But then these kind of topics, if you prepare for well, they give you a very good edge. So maybe some good technique on digit DP, maybe some good technique on how you can do binary lifting effectively. So these kind of techniques are covered in Code Forces blogs, which can give you an edge if you prepare for them. That is one thing. And I believe standard resources is something which most of the people already know, and just prepare them diligently and just revise and revise and revise, practice thoroughly. And again, what Shantanu said, that if you get stuck on a problem, spend some time, 15 to 20 minutes, and then just look at the tutorial. And then the thing is, when you come to the topic for the first time, let's say I'm a student, I'm preparing for DP for the first time. So initially, in the initial 5 to 10 problems which I solve, maybe I won't have any idea on how to approach the problem. So then it doesn't make sense that I'm just wasting my time thinking about a solution, because I know I'm not going to get at the solution, because I'm doing this topic for the first time. So in the initial 5 to 10 problems, maybe it's okay to look at the solution immediately, or in, let's say, 3 to 4 minutes. After that, when you have done this basic practice of a topic, then I guess it would be the right approach to spend 20 to 25 minutes per problem. So yeah, that is one thing. And apart from that, I believe, uh, again, so if I am to list out some standard resources, Striver, AlgoZenith, CSES, Yusaku Guide is a very good resource. Apart from that, Code Forces blogs, and then Art Coder beginner contests. So I shall just explain this. Art Coder beginner contests is the closest to online assessments that you will get on the internet. So the kind of questions which are asked in Art Coder beginner contests, especially DEF, is like very close to the kind of questions that companies ask. So if you want to specifically prepare for online assessments, if you want to give mock tests, or if you want to practice for your online assessments, let's say 2 weeks before they start, just start giving out Art Coder beginner contests. They are a very good resource for that. And for Yusaku Guide, I believe that, okay, so Yusaku Guide, if the students don't know, Yusaku stands for USA Computing Olympiad, and Yusaku Guide is a website that has detailed resources for CP and DSA, and they also include past year questions of Yusaku. So over Yusaku Guide, there are sections, there is a bronze section, there is a silver section, there is a gold section, and topics till gold section are mostly relevant to online assessments and interviews, so students can practice very good quality questions from there. So yeah, apart from that, what Shantanu said.
Right. Also, Srijan, any additions from your side?
I mean, I think everything is covered mostly, but yes, for DSA, I think AlgoZenith is the gold standard. I mean, you get everything out there, even the code process block that Vasu is talking about. Everything is available on AlgoZenith. In the paid resource, you get almost everything. So I think it's a very good investment to make for the preparation. And apart from that, yes, at Code a beginner contest, DEF, you have to do it. Like, it's too good. It's actually better than even code forces. So for OA purposes. And there is GOC contests that happen where they ask the previous year OA questions. I think you need to solve all the questions that are there, even if you're not able to just go through the tutorial, understand how you do it. Yes, these are some additional things.
That is
Yeah,
actually
that,
that Srijan just gave, because most of the times, and even Srijan and Shantanu would agree, PYQs repeat in some form or the other. Like either they would modify some PYQ or they would give a PYQ directly. So GOC CDC contests are very good. Solve each and every question. So,
yeah, that was very enlightening. So, moving on, for non-CS students, how shall one go about approaching CS fundamentals and OOPs? Srijan, would you like to take this?
I mean, okay, so for CS fundamentals, okay, I did not do much. I only did OOPs, to be honest. Like I did not do OS and networks and all because I don't think they expected from uh second year, मतलब जिन्होंने just second year complete किया. I don't think they expect OS and networks from them. But for OOPs, I did. There's a YouTube channel I think called Cherno, which was good. And there is Partha Pratim Das lectures available on YouTube, which are very good. I think these two resources you can follow. Apart from that, on Alvos and they also used to teach OOPs. So I followed these things only. Mainly the Partha Pratim Das notes and videos were actually good. Like it had all the basic things covered. And then there are many things like on GFG, if you go, you will see top 100 interview questions on OOPs and all. So, and they ask mostly very standard questions of CS fundamentals in the interviews. So if you go through that, most likely you'll get one of the questions from that only. Yes.
Right. Shantanu, would you like to add anything from your side?
I think OOPS is for an intern role. OOPS is not relevant. OOPS and sorry, CS fundamentals. OOPS is relevant. CS fundamentals won't have an impact because you are just sitting for an internship role, not a full-time placement role. And yeah, I think Srijan has covered everything regarding OOPS and CS fundamentals. There's nothing more, but it won't really matter. You shouldn't give more than 3 to 4 days on all these. I think the core base is DSA. And yeah, so yeah.
But I think you should cover OOPs. Like don't ignore OOPs. Like ignore everything else. But I think
Yeah,
people
oops
should
is important, but
do
yeah, don't
OOPs.
give a lot of time to it, I would say.
Right. That was actually very enlightening. Next up, competitive programming, as you all know, is very hyped up on our campus. How important do you think is competitive programming for the SDE role?
Vasu, would you like to take this?
yeah, sure. So again, the importance of CP varies from company to company. So for my company, Rubric particularly, I believe CP was the most important, because in online assessment also they only asked CP, and in interviews also they only asked CP. So for Rubric, like 95% of the selection procedure was CP, and in HR round they asked some basic stuff about your project. So that was not important. Uh, CP was very important, but then I believe that there is a distinction when it comes to CP and DSA. So the kind of questions that are asked in code forces are very ad hoc in nature, and like they don't particularly test your DSA knowledge or DSA skills, while the kind of questions which are asked in online assessments are more focused on DSA. So the kind of questions which you might see in lead code contests and art coder contests, they closely resemble the kind of questions which are asked in OA, while the questions which you see in code forces contests do not. So this is one distinction between CP and DSA that students must understand. So even if the case is that you are not good at CP or your code forces rating is not very high, you can always prepare for DSA very well, and you can always ace the online assessments very well, because the kind of questions that are asked there are very standard. So if you have covered the algorithm course diligently, if you have covered all the standard material like CSCS, lead code diligently, you will be able to crack the online assessments. Like you won't face any problem there. But as far as, again, so as I said, there is also a distinction among companies. So for more than 90% of the companies, the online assessments are very easy and very standard. So when I say very easy, I mean if you have prepared well, then you would have seen all the questions in online assessments in some form somewhere. But for companies like Rubric, I would say so Rubric focuses on problem solving and CP more. So for Rubric specifically, I would say that maybe the kind of questions which are asked on code forces are essential. But then for more than 90% of the companies, CP the part of CP which is not covered in DSA, like CP minus DSA wala part, that is not relevant. DSA is relevant. So yeah.
Okay. And also one thing, during the shortlisting period, are ratings of code forces and lead code considered?
Okay. So like nowadays, I believe, and most of the students are aware about this, that there is a lot of cheating going on code forces, particularly due to solutions getting shared on Telegram groups, or AI being able to solve CP problems. So I believe that even companies are aware about this. So I believe that from this year onwards, maybe companies wouldn't look at the code forces ratings or code chef ratings that much, right? But during our time or our seniors time, these ratings did matter. But then from this year onwards, I don't think these ratings would matter, given that the extent of cheating which is there in these contests. So
Okay. So would anyone else like to add anything?
Yeah, so as Vasu said, lead code contest, like these are very important. Lead code contests now resembles reality of what is being there in OAs. So lead code contest, like focus on that as much as possible. And I would, yeah, Vasu has covered everything regarding this. And don't chase ratings, like chase what, like this, like increasing your problem solving skill. Rating won't take you anywhere. You would, like, you are more important than your rating. So yeah, I would say don't chase your rating.
Yeah, that was really informative. So now, since quant roles are very math intensive, so how did you guys prepare for it? And also, please mention the important topics of maths, asked in the interviews. Vasu, would you like to take this?
yeah, sure. So for quant roles, I believe, as you said, maths is what is asked in most of the quant assessments as well as quant interviews. So there are certain standard resources out there which are available for quant preparation. So quant prep, like they basically ask questions around permutation, combination, or probability or statistics. So yeah, basic J stuff is what is asked by most of the companies. So like you should be comfortable in basic combinatorics problems and basic probability problems, and generally advanced stuff is not very much asked. So some essential resources which most of the students would be knowing are like the 50 challenging problems in probability, or like the green book, uh,
Mm.
or puzzled quant, or TEDed puzzles which are available on YouTube. So these are some standard resources for practicing probability questions and for practicing puzzles and brainstorming. Uh, and yeah, like if you solve these problems like twice or thrice, I think that should be sufficient. And apart from that, if you want to solve harder problems, I believe that maths Olympiad PYQs are kind of like I wouldn't say they are very relevant, but then some of the problems are relevant. So like the combinatorics problems which are asked in RMO or INMO, like they can be a good source of practice for the quant rules. So yeah, that is it.
Right. Srijan, do you have something to add on this?
Yes, so I think resources were covered. Like you have Brainstiller, you have Heard on the Street, you have 50 challenging problems on probability, you have Puzzled Quant, you have Green Book. All these things are very important. And I think if we are talking about quant, there is two segments. There is IB quant and then there is HFT quant roles. So the preparation I think is a bit different. For in GS quant, if you go, the questions are directly from Brainstiller. Even if you just uh, learn on the all the answers, there's a very high possibility that there will be question exactly from Brainstiller. And even if you don't know the solution, just say what was written there. They'll consider your answer. So yeah, so that's the easier part. But for HFT quant, okay. So I'll tell you about my experience. So in Graviton interview, they asked me three questions on some game theory, which was in control. So basically they kept asking about more about game theory, like how would you strategize this game to win this game. So they mostly check your aptitude and how you go about things. And then Like in NK Securities, they asked me, like it was a very tough question. It was like, if there's a wooden log, it is expanding at V meter per second. There's an ant at one end, it is going at some velocity towards right. The length of the log is L. Tell me the relationship such that the ant might cross. It took me 1 hour to solve this question. So it was a very tough question, at least for me. So this was a very non-standard question. You would not get it anywhere in Brainstorm or anything. This was some Olympiad question. So things like this happen, and to prepare for the HFT quant roles, I think you have to go through a bit of Olympiads and things like those. And if you have uh, already cracked Olympiads like the IOQM and INPHO वगैरह in your 11th and 12th class, it helps. Like it actually helps in shortlists and everything.
Okay, can I just add something to what Srijan said?
Yeah, sure.
So
Yeah.
it's one thing that you follow all the resources and you practice all the questions, but then what I would advise to students is that spend some time in quant prep. So what students do is they just reserve the last 10 to 15 days for quant prep, and they just try to complete all the resources. But that is not sufficient, because even if you solve a problem, you might not, perfectly get the intuition around it, or how to approach it, like how you would approach it if you see it for the first time, or how to solve any modification around it. So what I would advise is that what I would advise to students is that start your quant prep early, as in to say that spend some time on the resources, and try to think about the modifications to the problems yourself and stuff like that. So like the way students approach quant prep is just that कि last के 10 दिन में सारे questions and सारे resources कर लेंगे, but that is not how you should approach it, because interviewers like in some interviews they might ask you the question directly, but in most of the HFT interviews they won't ask you the direct, like they won't ask you the problem directly, but they will ask you some modification around that problem. So you will only able to answer that if you have spent some time yourself in thinking about the problem. So that is something which is important.
Right. Thank you for those valuable inputs. Now moving on, what kind of projects should someone do to gain an edge in the SD role? Shantanu, would you like to begin?
Yeah, so I would say there are very different types of project for everyone. So there are projects which are very intensive into dev. There are projects that are a combination of dev and taking something else. There are projects that are ML intensive. There are projects that are core like C++ projects like Rubik's Cube or Sudoku solver, all this. I think more importance, you should rectify your time. More of the projects are standard for most of the projects are standard for everyone. Like if you see all the CVs that come in campus, so like many CVs match, many projects match. So if you're working on a project, do something that is around you, not don't really copy. And yeah, you should also see if you have time for that also. But if you have time, find something interesting and try to build something out of it. Or you should pursue hackathons or competitions, all this. And and also Algozenith has really good projects involved with it. So you can also pursue that.
Yes. So would anyone else like to add anything?
I mean,
So
okay, so I think he rightly mentioned that almost half of the college have almost the same projects. Like if you see Rubik's Cube, you can find Rubik's Cube in almost all the CVs that you see on of any senior that you find. But I think at this point, if you are a second year who is sitting for his interview this year, I don't think you should spend any time more on projects, like on any intensive projects. Like if you like at AlgoZenith, you get projects for free. Like there is code base, you can just copy paste code from there. So if you find that, it's okay, but I don't think you should spend time on projects. They're not gonna help you more. If you are in first year, then definitely you should go for hackathons and everything, try participating in things, try participating in inter-IT and things like those. Gain more projects, but if you're setting for interview this year, I don't think projects are much of any importance for you anymore.
Also,
Yeah.
you mentioned that do not spend time on intensive projects. What we also meant to ask was that, I mean, does something specific, like for example, web dev or including generative AI, does that add leverage to your CV, like something specific? Could you elaborate on that?
Like, see, for day one and day two companies, it doesn't. They only see your DSA, your CGPA, and things like this. Like from day three, when startups start to come, I think then projects become a bit more relevant. But if you are targeting like day one and day two companies, I don't think it matters at all. Like if you have very good development projects, if you have very good generative AI projects, it doesn't matter. You know. Like big tech firms don't consider projects. The startups do.
Okay. Vasu, would you like to add anything?
I mean, mostly Srijan has covered everything. So what happens is in big companies, first of all, there are many teams, and you don't know your team that you will be joining till 1 week before you join your internship. And the probability that your tech stack or what you have worked on in your projects is going to match what you will be working on in your internship is very low. So mostly, even if you have worked on some tech stack before, it is very less likely that that is going to help you in your internship. Mostly you have to learn everything from scratch. So from this, what I mean to say is that this is the reason why companies don't value what you have learned in your projects or what tech stack you have worked on. But then of course projects do show that you have worked on some complex code or you have seen some complex code before, and projects do show that you know how to handle large code. But then most of the companies do not value that, because that is something that you can learn along the course of your internship. So that is the reason why big companies only focus on problem solving skills and your basic implementation skills. So basic coding acumen is what companies are looking for. So if I have something in my mind, whether I'm able to code it live in front of the interview is what most of the companies are looking for, and of course your problem solving skills. So like learning tech stack or learning web dev is not going to help you. Like ultimately during your internship you will have to learn everything new from the scratch. So yeah, focus on problem solving skills.
Right. So moving on, building a solid CV is paramount to getting selected. So could you give us some insights on crafting a compelling CV? Specifically, how many internships and projects should a strong CV include? Srijan, would you like to take this?
I think this was mostly covered in the last one. Okay, so for SD, see, in in CV, I think the most important thing is your CGPA. Like for crafting a good, strong CV, you need a good CGPA for sure. And then after that, for dual degree guys, if you're a dual degree guy, I think some good internship in your third year does help a bit. Like they might expect you that you would have done something in your summers. But for a BTech guy, I don't think internships play a much important role. Even the projects, it's just a good talking point that you have. You have good 10-15 minutes in your HR round. In your tech interview, also sometimes they ask you, okay, why did you do that? Why did you do this? So anything that you write in your CV, you should be confident about it. That what have you written, and how did you do it? You should know the nuances. Just know your projects throughout. Even if you have not done it, it's okay. Just know how it was done and just be thorough with it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Would anyone else like to add anything?
Cool. So yeah, I think what Srijan earlier said also, that students who are sitting for internships this year, I wouldn't advise to spend any time on self projects, because self projects do not matter. Because even companies know that self projects can be copied or can be made out of help from AI, right? But then projects under professors, or maybe a research internship somewhere, or maybe participating in inter IT, maybe those things can hold some value, and maybe those things can enhance your CGPA. So for the students who are in the first year who will sit for their CDC next year, I would strongly advise to explore, to maybe try to get a research internship in some good university, or maybe try to get a project under some professor, or maybe participate in inter IIT tech, because those things I believe can enhance your CGPA. And even I believe that like this is what I observed in Optiver software shortlists, that most of the students who were shortlisted for Optiver software had very good CVs when it came to participation in inter-IITs or research internships or stuff like that. But then again, self projects do not matter at all. When I say at all, I mean at all. Like, self projects do not matter, because like in today's date, self projects can be entirely copied or can be entirely made out of AI. So you can have zero contribution in your self projects, and even companies know that. But then projects under profs, maybe they will have some credibility and maybe they will have some value. So
Okay, so I wanted to ask that, like you mentioned doing research internships under a professor. So what is your take on, like, is it better to do a research under internship, or go and do some internship in a corporate, or just focus on college and participate in inter-IIT?
mm, okay,
It
so
depends really on a lot of factors. So as Vasu said, like projects really don't matter, but
Yeah.
research interns are really good, and what you want to pursue out of that is also important. So like corporate intern, if you want to ask a corporate intern versus research intern, so if the corporate intern, the company that you're pursuing has some credibility, has a name for itself, then you can pursue corporate intern. Otherwise, research intern under profs is a comfortable and nice option to pursue. But I think Vasu has talked enough about this point. There's in SD, nothing matters more than your problem solving skills. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for valuable inputs. Yeah.
Right. That was really informative. Moving on, this is again a common problem that many students face. There is a lot of rush during the CDC process. So what was your preparation like leading up to CDC, like in the last few days? Please dive into the detail about the topics you reviewed, particularly in the last few days. Vasu, would you like to
okay,
begin?
cool, yeah, sure. So I believe that CDC in this sense, like, closely resembles JE. So in JE also you had a huge syllabus, but in the last few days you cannot revise the full syllabus, obviously. So you just give mock tests. You give mock tests and then you analyze, and then whichever topic you feel you are weak in, you revise that particular topic. I believe a similar approach can be followed here as well. So maybe in the last 1 week or 2 week, it wouldn't be as beneficial to revise a specific topic than to give mock contests or mock tests or mock online assessments and then analyze your strengths and weaknesses. So I believe, yeah, give a virtual contest, like give two virtual contests, in fact, daily for the last 1 week, and that would really help. And try to analyze from there what your strong topics are, what your weak topics are. So virtual contests are very important.
Yeah. Also, Srijan, would you like to share your preparation experience?
Okay, so for CDC last minute revision, I think mock OAs are very important. Like I used to give AtCoder a lot in the last phase. AtCoder is really good. Then I used to give lead code weekly and bi-weekly. I think by last you most probably will be able to solve all the 4 questions that are there. I don't know about the level now, but last year it was like you could solve the 4 questions. The preparation is good. GOC contests are a very good mock tests if you want to, like very, very relevant. See, after your OS start, I don't think you get any time to revise anything. Like, especially if you're in circuital, I remember we used to give 5 or 6 tests in a day. Like it got really hectic. Like it will get really hectic. So for OA revision, I don't think you'll get time. So try to complete topics as soon as possible, and then you cannot revise topic wise, right? You just go through the last previous year questions. uh, be active on, there is something called lead code discuss where you get the OA questions that are being asked in different colleges, like different IITs. Like you'll get questions like Google questions, which came in IIT Delhi this week, something like that. So you can go through them. So I think these are a good places to revise from. And for interview purposes, I think you have standard sheets. Like in AlgoGeneth, we had 100 very, very important questions, something like that. And in interview, I got many, many questions that were asked from there only. So there are these things where you can do last minute revision.
Right. Shantanu, would you also like to add something from your personal experience? Also, could you also mention any particular resource that you personally used?
Yeah, the GOC series is really good for the last few days, I would say. But I think Vasu and yeah, Srijan has gone through everything, and yeah, be a bit like in the last few days you would mostly be giving aways, and don't go very hard on yourself. It's easy, like keep giving contests, and you can't start something from scratch, right? In the last few days, just yeah, give the tests that are coming. Like the OAs will start 1 week before you reaching the campus. So yeah, I would say just keep doing what you're doing and don't go very hard on yourself. That time is going to be quite stressful.
Right.
And that was very informative. Now, this is a very, question that a lot of people ask. What are some common mistakes students should avoid during the preparation phase? Shantanu, would you like to take this?
Yeah, so I would say like initially what we mentioned, copying solutions, like going to the solution very fastly is one of the biggest mistakes that is being done. And yeah, I think consistency altogether. Like if you're like if on a good day you're solving 10 questions and for the rest of the week you're doing nothing. So it's better you get out of this process because it won't really give you anything. And yeah, so consistency is the main thing to go with. And mistakes, I would say, is skipping to the solutions really fast, not being consistent. And see, I always say that if you keep working towards a profile, if you keep working towards something, the resources will be available to you at the right point of time. You will know what to follow at what point of time. Just two things, according to me, have not being consistent and yeah, like avoiding problems. So yeah, avoid these two things.
Right. So, would anyone else like to add anything on this?
Okay, I shall go first. So yeah, I think what Shantanu said about consistency and its importance is very crucial for students. So you need to stay consistent. You need to solve 4 to 5 problems daily to get a hang of problem solving and to get a hang of how you implement in real time. Apart from that, I like one mistake that students can do is again going after ratings on platforms like Codeforces and CodeChef. And this is not to say that these ratings are totally relevant, but then again, the kind of questions which are now being asked on Codeforces are becoming more and more irrelevant for CDC. So if you are not able to solve ad hoc problems, it's fine. Like even I couldn't solve ad hoc problems on Codeforces, but then the kind of questions which I got asked in interviews weren't ad hoc then. They were like focused on DSA only, like binary search, DFS, trees, stuff like that. So yeah, just follow the resources, prepare diligently, be consistent, be thorough. Like how you prepared for JEE, just go into that zone for 3 months and you will be good to go.
I think I would just add one thing. Please remain
Yeah,
calm. The panic is real.
Okay.
The panic is actually real.
that makes sense. Okay, that was really informative. Okay, we have a perception. I mean, that CDC is a very grueling and hectic process. So, like, would you share, like, apart from the acad part, like, how did you manage everything personally? The emotional part, maybe.
Okay, so should I go first?
Yeah, yeah,
Sure.
So, like, if you're asking about, uh, okay, so if you're asking about the whole CDC process, the OAs were fine only. I mean, they were hectic because you are giving a lot of tests. Like, uh, for for computer science and for computer science, so actually all the companies open, but for MNC also mostly all the companies open. So we had a lot of tests. So we used to give tests from morning, I think 8 to I don't know, somewhere around night 11, something like that. Where when we came to the campus, then also we had a lot of tests. Like I remember we had Convox test at 1 a.m. at night or something like that. So things like that and I had no habit of being awake this late night. So that took a bit toll on me. And then you get your interview shortlist just 1 day before. Not, I think, yeah, 7 to 8 hours before the interview start. So till till then you don't know which companies are you selected in. So that's also very, very stressful. You don't know where are you going to give the interviews and all. And the interview started at I think 8. So I had my first interview at Graviton. I went to the second round, got rejected. That was bad. Like they asked many game theory questions. Then I went for the NK security interviews that I had. As I mentioned, there was one question and I took 1 hour to solve. I think he had better expectations from me, so then also it was rejected. So there were too many rejections for me in the first 2 hours. So I got a little demotivated that okay, what's happening here? Then APT portfolio suddenly cancelled all their shortlists. Like they had uh, given shortlist for control, and then at the last moment they cancelled all the interviews that they had. So that was also bad. So the first 3 hours were not so great for me. Then I went for the DSA interview. DSA interviews went really good. Like I had 3 rounds, and I also had the HR round. Then they asked me to wait for 2 hours, and after 2 hours, they're like, "Okay, we are done with all students that we want." So that also felt really bad. And then I had my Google interview at 6 a.m. So I did not sleep for the whole night. The interviews are going from 8, and now at 6 a.m. I'm at Google interviews. The Google interview also went really well. Like where they were asking DSA, I was quite good prepared, so it was good. Like DSA and Google. So there were 2 rounds at Google. The first round it was one question, 40 minutes. That question was actually good. It was not a very standard question. So that was then, and then second round they asked me 5 questions on DP. Like first there was a simple question, and then she kept following up with more and more constraints and all, which was fine, very normal, like how they teach at Algo Zenith. And at Google interviews they also see how modular your code is. I mean, how good variable names you are using, not just random var and int a or something like that. If you use good names, they consider that. I think in big tech firms too, they do consider that. And after Google, it was bad for me. Yeah. So I
Right.
gave interviews from like night 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. in the morning.
Understood.
Okay.
Shantanu, would you like
Nice.
to add something from your personal experiences?
Like, yeah, I had 2 interviews. Initially, I had a wholesale strategy interview at Nomura, and then I had an interview at Amazon. So my interview started at in like there was a GD on day 0 and 4 o'clock. I would say yeah. I came there 4 o'clock. The GD really happened at 9. So and then at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, I got the like I have the I knew I had the interview at 8 a.m. So I went to Nomura, got rejected because they took just one person. So it was quite competitive. I got rejected, and then I went to Amazon. I would say just don't align your happiness to another someone else's result. So you're gonna see a lot of people whom you won't expect to crack uh, good internship get very great internship. So don't align your happiness according to that. And yeah, so keep working. If you come out of this process, you're going to be a better person, you're going to be a more trained person, and you're going to be really calm and patient with yourself. So yeah, just keep working, working as far as you can, and yeah, just don't align your happiness with results, I would say that.
Yeah, makes sense. So, Vasu, would you like to share your experience?
Sure, sure. So again, just adding on what Srijan and Shantanu said. I mean, the result is something which is not in our hands, right? Only the preparation is in our hands. So once you are done with the preparation, just be confident with whatever you have studied. Just believe in yourself and just believe in your preparation that you know the stuff. Even when you go to the interview, don't panic. Just believe in whatever you have studied. Just believe that I know my stuff, I would be able to answer in the interview. So that kind of confidence and that kind of self belief is something which is very essential both in online assessments as well as interviews. Apart from that, as far my experience goes, and my experience might be motivational for a lot of students. So even though I had prepared quite well, and my online assessments went well as well. I only had one shortlist for the whole day one, and that one shortlist was at rubric. So obviously that was very demotivating for me at that moment when the shortlists came out, that I only have one shortlist in the whole day one. And day one comprised of around 20 to 25 companies, if I'm not wrong. So out of 20 to 25 companies, I only got shortlisted for one company. But then again, as I said, because I knew that I had done good preparation, because I believed in myself, I went to the interview round. And surprisingly, like for every other student, they had two rounds of technical, like they had two rounds of technical interview followed by an HR round. For me, they only had one round of technical interview followed by the HR round. So yeah, because I performed well in the interview, they only had one round for me. So what I mean to say is that this might happen with a lot of students, that they don't get shortlists. And like even Srijan and Shantanu would agree with me on this, that CDC shortlists are random. Like you don't have control on over CDC shortlists. And like you might feel that you aced an OA of a particular company, but you did not get shortlisted there. And you might feel that you performed very well, that you performed very bad for an OA, but you got shortlisted there. So those kind of things happen. Like I would just say, don't like focus too much on the shortlists at that point when they come out. Just focus on what interviews you have. Just try to ace those interviews. And like again, results are not in your hand. So just focus on your preparation. Be confident. Be happy. That's it.
That was amazing, actually. It would be a great motivation for all of us.
I
So,
think this is very important. Like, please don't get demotivated with your shortlists. It's actually very much luck. Like, it's on 50% luck, I would say. More than 50% maybe.
Hmm.
uh, so now we have one final question in the panel discussion. So, what would your advice be to someone who is targeting to get into your company? So, Shantanu, would you like to begin?
I would personally never give advice to target just one company. You can never target one company. You can never say that, yeah, I'm going to enter, say, Rubrik, I'm going to enter Optiver, I'm going to enter, say, Google. So you should never do that. The thing that resides in your hand is the process, and the process is mostly based on DSA and yeah, oops, yeah, everything like in general that has been told before. Like what is the like have been told before by all three of us is what is comprised of the process, and you should never target one company because yeah, let the shortlist come and then you will decide which company to target. Then that's the better option. But you will know how shortlists come and how people are shortlisted. So yeah, you'll never even ask this question if you give interviews of CDC. So yeah, and yeah, never target one company. So
Right.
that's it.
Understood. Srijan, would you like to answer this now?
Like,
I mean,
what we meant by is what is something your company would look like, would look in a candidate for in the interview.
okay. So if I start with it, so for Google, I think they did consider CV a bit. Maybe, matlab, I don't know how the shortlisting worked, but maybe they considered CV a bit. I'm assuming it after I know the shortlist. And it was like you had two questions. If you solved one, you get the shortlist. I don't think anyone was able to solve two questions in the OA in the entire college. So it was like if you solve one question, you will get to the interviews, most probably, if you have a decent CV. I think by decent CV, I mean a decent CGPA and maybe some project related to software, like any project, but something related to software. Okay. And then after that, in the interviews, they only see DSA. Like if you are decent, even if you are decent at DSA, they'll get you. They also look for, as I told you, like they look for good code. Like good coding practices is something that Google look for. Uh, I mean, codes that are not like the variables names are good, the functions are written in a better way, the code is a bit modular, things like these. They do give weightage to these things. So this is the, but yeah, I think you cannot target a company like Google. Like, I mean, it's nearly impossible that you want to be there and you'll be there. It's very much like on your luck. If it hits you, it will hit you.
Okay, makes sense. Vasu, any additions from your side?
Yeah, again, totally agreeing with what Shantanu said. You cannot target one specific company solely because of the reason that the shortlists itself are not in your hand. So maybe if I'm targeting Google, it might be the case that I am not getting shortlisted for Google. So again, so that is something which cannot be done in the CDC process given its random nature. But then just there are some special cases here, like companies like Optiver have a entirely different like selection process. Like their online assessment is entirely different, their interviews are entirely different. So from what I have heard from other people, like the interview rounds for Optiver like did not comprise of DSA or CP questions. Rather, they comprised more of OOPS questions and networks questions, and some kind of LLD, HLD stuff, like basic software system design stuff. So, but for most of the companies, yeah, DSA and CP is what is asked, and I have already mentioned that for rubric, the 95% of the selection procedure was CP. Like they had 4 questions in their online assessments, all CP problems, and in the technical round, also they only asked me 1 or 2 CP problems. So for most of the companies, CP and DSA is what is going to be essential. But for some companies like DShaw or Optiver, you might need some special preparation if you are specifically targeting these companies. So if someone is specifically targeting Optiver, then I would advise that have some idea of basic system design, have some idea of basic network scores and stuff like that.
Understood. So I believe that most of us now do have an idea like how CDC works for this profile and beyond. Now we shall be taking a few questions from the audience. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat box, and we will be taking them up from there.
Also, Janta, before we begin the Q&A session, there's an important announcement. Today, we have a panel discussion on core profile at 4 p.m. So do join in there too. Okay, so for the first question, what portion or topics of the Green Book need to be covered for quant preparation?
Hmm.
I think I have not done green book, so I don't have much idea about green book.
Me too. I haven't touched green book, so yeah.
Okay, Vasu, what about you?
तो आंसर मैं बुक डाउनलोड कर रहा हूँ, एक सेकंड में देख के बताता हूँ.
Yeah, sure. I think we'll come back to this question.
Yeah.
Until then, another question is how much CG is required in general for this?
In context of software development.
I'd say
I think
like you shouldn't ask CG from Vasu and Srijan. You would be like disappointed for the next 2 years of your college. So I would say, yeah, 8 is good. 8 is really good. 7.5 is if it's not, you haven't, because you can't change your CG if you're sitting down, right? So yeah, what the controllables are in your hands. Yeah. CG above 8 is good. And if you can ace 9 and if you can be a 9 pointer, that's very well enough for you. But yeah, CG above 8 is good.
I
Okay.
think, but if you're targeting HFT, then I think nine is required. If you're below 9, there's a strong possibility that they won't give you shortlist.
True.
Okay, so like talking about shortlists, I believe that almost all the people who got shortlisted for Quad I Systems role had a CGPA above 9.6. All the people who got shortlisted for NK Securities had a CGPA above 9.5. So that is fact. Like, but then I believe that for most of the companies, like 8.5 or 9 suffice. Like 7.5, I believe would be too low. But then again, exceptions are there. If you are exceptionally good at DSA or exceptionally good at CP, they might consider you. But then for more than 90% of the people who got shortlisted, they had a CGPA above 8.5 only. And for HFTs, generally it is around 9.5.
Okay.
Okay, speaking about Green Book, chapter number 2, chapter number 4, and chapter number 5, excluding the Brownian motion part. That is what is essential. For whom, like for whoever was asking. Is that clear?
Yeah. And the next question is, when do CV submissions and OA rounds begin? Is there any general timeline to it?
Yeah. So like the CV submission for our batch ended in June. And like, yeah, so just 3 to 4 weeks before the starting of the day one, 4 weeks, I would say, the CV submission is done. And from 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks between this timeline, the OA starts. So yeah, this is the timeline. So yeah, it could be random also. Just depends on the year and on the situations around.
Right. So next up we have, what if someone has only self projects in their CV and no research interns?
Really matters for ST, like internships,
Doesn't
it
matter.
doesn't matter.
Okay. And next, I mean, that clears up stuff. Also, what domain self projects should one include in this case?
I mean, anything related to development maybe, or something related to C++. Like you have that Rubik's Cube thing, right? Which is purely a C++ project. So I think that works. Or maybe ML. I think everyone has something of ML in the CV at this point.
Okay, if there isn't any more questions in the chat box, then I guess we'll conclude. Okay, there is another question. What should be the ideal time to start CP?
Okay, I shall answer this one. So I believe that when it comes to CP or problem solving, like that is something which I also stressed on about when I mentioned about quant prep. So it is always better to start as early as possible. So when it comes to quant prep or when it comes to CP or DSA, it would always be better if you start early, because it's not about topic coverage or syllabus coverage. You need to revise these things again and again, and you need to think about your own modifications to the problems so that you can get good at them. And the thing is that if you spend more time, you will get better by time. So like, let's say you today are at a certain level. After 6 months of continuous grinding, your level will definitely increase, and after the next 6 months of continuous grinding, your level will again increase. So if you spend more time, your level is surely going to increase, and that is something which you obviously want, right? So it's always better to start early.
Yeah.
Like even if a
And
first year is watching this, I would say start today. That is.
Okay.
uh,
So next up we have, if someone hasn't done CP much, like is DSA enough? Like for example, doing Striver sheet.
I'd say, yeah, like if you haven't done CP till now, there's no point in starting. And even some people won't be able to adapt to CP. And as Vasu said, it's a really good point that CF is now very ad hoc approach, and you shouldn't approach that for a CDC perspective. DSA practice and solving, like the part he mentioned, I found it very good that CP minus DSA is the part you shouldn't touch, and CP including DSA is the part you should go forward with. So if you don't have enough time for CP, the Striver sheets or AZ is the only stuff you should follow. And for AZ, I think Srijan would give you really good guidelines, how to follow the course, what to do. AZ is a really good course. Like mostly people on campus pursue that. So yeah.
okay, so next question is based on languages. Is doing DSA in C++ necessary, or doing it in Python would have any disadvantages?
It just depends like what you're used to. I would say uh, you could choose any language you are comfortable in, but C++ is the most preferred language. Yeah.
I think in Python there are too many built-in functions also that you might use, and that increases the time complexity. So I don't think it's much feasible to use Python. So try to do it in C++.
Also, in
adding,
context of OS, I'm sorry.
yeah, adding to what Srijan said, like most of the solutions and most of the tutorials also have code in C++. So if you want to learn the solutions, it is better that you start coding in C++, because most of the GMs also on code forces, if you try to look at their solutions, they would have coded in C++. So it's better to use C++.
Yeah.
Okay. Now next, in OAs, I think it's like, do we need to write code in Notepad or is there any ID? I think,
Yeah, I think
Hacker
in
rank,
OA,
hacker.
so
Yeah.
it's on HackerRank. But in interviews, you might have to write in some notepad. Like in most of the interviews that I went to, they made me write on a pen and copy. But in some online interviews, they had some online editor, but that was also not as good as VS Code. Trust me, it was bad.
But don't get used. I would also give a point. Don't get used to VS Code because it's really comfortable in coding in VS Code. Have a code like I would say program is work from me. Program is if you see online compiler, it won't take any of your space and it would give you a real environment that would match the OA or the interview environment. So yeah, you should go forward with that. So
Also, we have another question. If someone hasn't done web development much, should they focus on DSA as of now, or should they try web dev as well?
I think if you're going to sit in the interviews this year, I don't think you should do web development.
okay, moving on. How is the CSES problem set and what topics of it are super relevant, excluding parts in the Striver sheet?
Cool, cool. I shall take this one. So CSES is mostly relevant, but then like some problems in the advanced section, like those might be relevant. But apart from that, like if CSES has 300 problems, I would say more than 200 problems are relevant. Like all the problems in DP section, all the problems in graph section, all the problems in tree section, and then searching and sorting, and then maths and range queries. Mm, Geometry is irrelevant. Geometry can be skipped. Advanced techniques can be skipped. Uh, Bitwise operations one is relevant. Advanced graph properties can be skipped. Additional problems can be skipped. Rest everything is relevant. Was that clear?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
clear. Since there aren't any more questions in the chat box, so we'll conclude the Q&A session.
So I would like to extend my congratulations to our esteemed panelists on securing such impressive internships. I would also like to thank them for giving their valuable time and sharing their experience and insights with all of us. I'm confident that their guidance will be incredibly beneficial to us all. Last but not the least, thanks to our audience for staying with us and actively participating in this session. Also, Janta, don't forget to join in again at 4 p.m. for Fun Day on Core Profile.
Yeah, I think there is another question. Sorry for this, but there's a question. Which platforms are preferred for OA? Like HackerRank has a bit weird UI. So which all platforms should they use?
I
so
think the
hacker rank.
company
Yeah,
tells you the website. You don't choose that.
true, true.
So whatever they
Okay.
choose for you, you have to use that. There's no option.
Also, since most of the OAs are conducted either on HackerRank or HackerEarth, like a week or 2 week before the OA start, students can practice on these platforms just to get a hang of the UI.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for your time. And now this brings us to prepnest.in, a platform built for internships and placements. Prepnest offers four broad features: AI resume review, AI interviews, resource hub, and mentorship. The AI resume review analyzes your CV based on four pillars: basics, impact, visual, and relevance. Basic scores the basic content of your resume. Visual scores the format of your CV. Relevance shows how relevant your CV is to the job role you have selected and tells you what to add to increase relevance. An AI agent takes your interview with live AI generated video and audio, giving you the feel of a real interview. Today, we launched the Job Ready Challenge. Step 1, sign up on the platform using the QR link below, upload your resume and give an AI interview and get scores and feedback on your job readiness. So Janta, scan the QR code and iterate on your CV and yourself. Thank you. Thank you so much for the panelists too for giving so much of your valuable time. And thank you for the audience to staying with us until the end.
Thanks a
All
lot.
right.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
both were great hosts, by the way.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Thanks. Like,
Yeah.
it's,
Bye.
it's a lot.
It's
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
bye.
Bye bye.